Hey guys, welcome to November. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Nicole. Please feel free to like and subscribe, do all those YouTube things to help out my channel. I really appreciate it. It means so much to me. If you guys are not new and this isn't your first rodeo, thank you guys so much for sticking with me. I enjoy the comments you leave. I enjoy the friendships that we're building, and it's great. It's wonderful, and I really like it and love it. So thank you. It is November, or it will be November soon, and it's time for me to let you guys know what I'm going to be participating in November. So for November, Final Book Support Group is making its rounds again. This time it is going to be, I believe it's Thanksgiving week for me, which is the second to last week of November. It is a week-long readathon to punch out as many of those sequels, last books in the series as possible. This is hosted by Steph over at Steph Loves. So I will link a description to her announcement for her November Final Book Support Group video down below. As far as the only other thing that I will be participating in this for this month is going to be the Knock It Out November readathon hosted by Cassidy over at Covers by Cassidy. What I really love is it seems like both the Knock It Out November and the Final Book Support Group are going to go hand in hand with helping me finish some goals that I've had, a few series that I've had. So I cannot wait because it is a hefty little list with a lot of chunky books. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. I'm going to be referring to notes because for Knock It Out November, unlike Final Book Support Group, you choose whatever you want to knock it out for a series, whether it's the first book, the whole series, or the last book that you need for that series. Knock It Out November is kind of like creating your own goals or goals that you wanted for the year that you haven't achieved yet, and then completing those goals and giving yourself a little reward. I know that Cass said that she's going to be buying herself a book for this every time she completes her goal. I don't know if I'm going to reward myself for them because I feel like kind of completing the goal is going to be its own reward, but I might. I don't know. We'll figure that out. We'll see how it goes. If I do decide to do something, I will let you guys know in November as I'm going. But like I said, I look at this list and there are a lot of books, and so it's a little daunting. I think there's like 12. And the most I've ever read was like 12 back in August when I was doing like a crazy amount of readathons. And like I said, these are pretty chunky. So we'll get started. So one of the things that I wanted to do for Knock It Out November was I've been wanting to read a lot more biographies. It was something that I wanted to do, to read one at least like every month or every other month. And I really hadn't got a chance to do that. So my biographies, I have a few of them. I've been kind of stacking up a little bit. So for me to tackle that, I decided I am going to read Michael J. Fox's Lucky Man, his memoir. For those of you who don't know, and this would be kind of surprising because I mean, it's Michael J. Fox. Michael J. Fox is famous as an actor, a teen actor from the 80s, who was on the TV show Family Ties, which was kind of like a Full House type thing. I know Leonardo DiCaprio was actually on it when he was a lot younger, but he's really well known for his role as Marty McFly in the Back to the Future franchise. And as he got older, I believe he was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Yes, Parkinson's. And it's just kind of how he's become an advocate for that, and how he's not wanting to let that get him down, and how he's just kind of still trying to thrive. So he's just always seemed like a very sweet person to me. And I mean, I've never met him, but I wanted to read it. Plus, when I have a lot of chunky books, this is a very thin one. I know that he also has another biography that I own that's kind of a sequel to this one. So I wanted to read about it. So for the first one, I will be reading Lucky Man by Michael J. Fox. That is going to be for my bio goal. So hopefully that one will be an easy one to take out. The next goal that I have is to read more historical fiction. I love history. It was actually when I went to college for specifically medieval history, dark ages, you know, up to the Renaissance, up to gunpowder, all that kind of stuff. And I just always found it kind of fascinating. So getting more into reading historical fiction. I haven't picked up too much of it this past year when I used to read a lot of it. So gonna get back into that because that pile's growing too. Not that that's a bad thing, you know. Book piles are never a bad thing unless they're like the DNFs or the bad book pile that you want to get rid of. Then, yeah. But then again, that's not a bad thing because you're gonna get rid of them or give them some more space, right? Right? So anyway, the book that I am going to be reading is Which Way is Home? And this is another thin one. I wanted to go thin because I'm getting back into it. Plus, like I said, the other books are like, you know, big. But this one is by Maria Kylie, I'm not sure. I don't know too much about it. I know that it is about basically a young girl who's forced to leave her country after World War II. And I don't know which country. Oh, wait, never mind. I do. Czechoslovakia. So it's really interesting because basically you have how she's growing up and then World War II is kind of going on. And this one actually deals more with the Communist Party and what they were doing to fight the Nazi regime of Germany at the time. Which is something interesting because usually we always read it, you know, here where I live, it's, you know, America and, you know, the Allies versus, you know, Germany and I think it's the Axis powers. So finding out what was going on in Czechoslovakia, which you don't really hear about, especially between, like I said, Russia and Germany at that time, is another thing that you don't really hear about. So I was intrigued, like I said. I'm not sure if this is a middle grade or a YA. But it just, you know, it was a really pretty cover. It had these 4, what looks like children, but I'm not sure if they're children, if they're a family, because maybe one of them's the mom. But it's just basically what they kind of have to go through. So I don't know if I'm going to need tissues. I might. But it is a short read. So if I'm going to get teary-eyed, you know, I think the other ones are a little bit more fantasy-esque for the month. So this, I think, might be the real big hard hitter for the month. So I'm happy that it's a thin one, but looking forward to it because, like I said, I really do like reading historical fiction and learning about that. So that will be that book for my historical fiction goal. Now we get into some of the interesting ones that, they're going to be big ones. So the next goals that I have is to read some of the pre-orders that I had that I got back in like August that I haven't touched yet because I didn't get prompts for them and I didn't get to them and I couldn't make them fit. So there are 3. The first one being The Ballad of Never After. This is the sequel to the Once Upon a Broken Heart, which I already have. I read that back in like April and I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of this fantasy snowy world. And I feel like maybe this might be a good leeway, you know, as winter's approaching, December's getting here, you know, I don't get snow here where I am, but I have lived in places where snow is. So it just kind of is going to maybe create that kind of festive wonderland if that's still going to happen. Plus, I really kind of want to go back and seeing how the relationship's going to develop between Evangeline and Jax, who's the Prince of Hearts. I don't want to get too much into it because I don't want to give away Once Upon a Broken Heart, but I did enjoy that one. So like I said, I'm curious to continue and see how the relationship develops because they left on a very enemy note. So this might be an enemies to lovers. I don't know. We'll see. One of the other books that I pre-ordered and I was so excited to read, it's The Final Gambit. This is the 3rd book in the Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I bulldozed through the Inheritance Games. I think it was back in like February. I read them curled up under a blanket. We were getting new windows in our house and it was freezing cold and I finished that sucker in a day. It was so good. It was a 5-star read. I read I think it was the Hawthorne Legacy. Yep, Hawthorne Legacy. And I'm so excited to see where this is going to go, because there was like a few little things that were kind of left out in the second book, and I had no idea knowing that there was a third book in the mix. So wondering how they're going to wrap this up. Also wondering if who she kind of ended up with in book 2 is really going to be who she ends up with. So for those of that you don't know, you have Avery, who is just your regular normal girl living, I think it's in Texas, and she finds out that she has inherited pretty much everything from like the richest man in like the world basically at that time. And he has a few grandsons, and the family is not that happy about it. And a few of the grandsons are around her age, so there's multiple love interests. And they're kind of going around it in a very clue, solve, puzzle, mysterious entries, and moving panels, like all this like kind of like mansion of a house that has all these mazes and puzzles and things. So I was really intrigued, and I had a lot of fun, like I said, with the first 2. So Final Gambit, I am hoping you will live up to everything else. I'm pretty sure you are, but we'll see how that goes. So that will be basically, I forgot to mention, this is going to basically be for the prompt, read a last book in a series, because I think this is the last book in the series. I know she's going to be writing another one, but I think it's like a spin-off series. It's not in this series. So that will be the last book in the series. I would do The Ballad of Never After as a final book, but I don't know if it's going to be a final book, to be honest. There might be another one. I'm not sure. I'd have to look into that. So for right now, I'm just having it under my own prompt of finish the pre-orders that I got. The other book that could either be a last book in a series, once again, I don't know. I think this is, because I think it's supposed to be a duology, but another pre-order that I need to finish, and that is The Dragon's Promise by Elizabeth Lim. This is the sequel to Six Crimson Cranes, which is very fantasy. It's an Asian fantasy inspired retelling of what I believe was one of the traditional like fairy tales or myths of Asian folklore. And you have a girl who has six brothers, and she's a princess, and her stepmother curses her. She finds out her stepmother is a demon, and her stepmother curses her and her brothers are turned into cranes, and she is cursed to have this like bowl like kind of cemented on her head, and which sounds ridiculous, I know, but it works. And she can't speak, because the second she utters a sound, one of her brothers will die. So she goes around mute. She's never really ever able to get help from people to save her brothers, and she's looking for her brothers because they have to concoct a plan to save their kingdom. There were some twists and turns along the way. All was not as it seemed. And there was some romance. There's a little bit of a love triangle going on, and it ended really interesting. So I'm really curious to see if this is going to be the end, how it goes, who gets the girl, all those kinds of things. But it was a beautiful, beautiful world, and I really enjoyed it. So I want to finish it up and see where she goes with it. So this one will be, like I said, it'll either be the final book, or it will be read one of the prompts, read one of the pre-order books, I should say. So after that, I have no idea what prompt it would be. It could be, I guess I could say try new author. I don't really feel like I'm trying it too much. And that is Fairy Tale by Stephen King. I have read a Stephen King book before. However, it was his autobiography. I have never actually read any Stephen King book, mostly because many of them terrify me. So I heard about Stephen King writing this, and that it was really more of a fairy tale. And I'm like, you know what? The movies that he's done that I really do like Shawshank Redemption and The Green Mile, and some of the other non-horror type ones that he wrote. I mean, I have seen a lot of the movies. I haven't read a lot of the books, but I have wanted to get into them a little bit more, because I know he does write more than just horror. So this might be my first Stephen King book. So for that, I will count it as a new author because this is his works, not necessarily his bio. Although I do recommend his bio on writing. It's one of the best biographies I have read to date, especially if you're a writer or you have a love of books, because finding out what he had to go through to get published, and he writes so easily and understandable, and it just makes him so relatable. So On Writing by Stephen King, big thumbs up. I love it. I actually have it up there somewhere. But yeah, so I will be reading this one, and this is basically, as far as I understand, you have this boy named Charlie who's a high school kid, just a regular kid, and he's dealing with, his mom was killed in an accident. It's affected his dad greatly, just kind of a lot of the drama that's been going on with that. And he comes and he meets this older gentleman called Howard Bowditch, who's a recluse. He kind of runs odd jobs. Mr. Bowditch ends up passing away, I think, but he ends up leaving Charlie, it says, a cassette tape telling a story that nobody would believe. But apparently it might be a real world of this like fairy tale world, and how he might go and venture into that. So I'm really looking forward to that and seeing, what I think. So this will be, I'm just going to say it's the new author. We're going to go with new author. It works. So next up is Binge, a series that you have already started. I know this is one that I think Cassidy is going to do for herself. I'm going to do it as well, and that is to finish the Infernal Devices trilogy. I read the first one, which is Clockwork Angel. I read that, I think, in September. I really liked it. I think it was like a 4 or a 5-star book for me. I really enjoyed it. So I want to read the next 2 in this series, find out what's going to go on with the characters, who she's going to end up with, which I think I kind of know. They did kind of do it. But this is kind of the prequel to the Mortal Instruments series that was made into a TV show and movie. This is kind of the prequel series that takes place during Victorian England, where you have like the Shadowhunters Academy, and there are vampires and witches and ghosties and ghoulies and all those kind of like supernatural creatures, and the descendants of angels who fight the bad, monsters and ghouls and creatures. So I will be, like I said, liked the first one, had these for a while. You guys have seen them on a few TBRs. I am going to finish them this month. So that will be my Binge series that I've already started, because first book done, 2 more to go. The next one that I'm going to try to do is going to be to read an entire new series in the month. And I've had this series for a while. It was also on loan to me from my mother-in-law. The 3rd book is actually coming out in November, and my mother-in-law has already promised that as soon as she's done reading it, she will give it to me. So this is kind of one of those prompts that I can only finish it if I get that 3rd book from her in time. So I probably will read these a little bit later in the month. And that is the Dragonheart Legacy books by Nora Roberts. You have The Awakening and The Becoming. I've never read a Nora Roberts book. I know she is really famous for a lot of her romance writings, more contemporary romance, but I know she also has some like fantasy romance types books. And my mother-in-law said that these were really, really good. It kind of has like a between the worlds reference. So I will just share with you what this kind of says. And you have, I guess there's 2 separate stories. So in a realm of Talam, I think that's how you pronounce it, a teenage warrior named Keegan emerges from a lake holding a sword representing both power and terrifying responsibility to protect the Fae. In another realm known as Philadelphia, a young middle school teacher has just discovered she possesses a treasure of her own. Breen Kelly works a job she hates while trying to pay off her student loan. I'm pretty sure we know how that feels. Pinching pennies and fighting off anxiety attacks. Yes, we definitely know how that feels. She's prone to those, along with headaches and strange dreams, like the one she just had about that she encountered a dragon. But as vivid as the dream was, she knows that the bedtime stories of magical places that her father told her about long ago before he disappeared were just that, stories. Only lately she's noticed a silver-haired man who seems to follow her everywhere she goes, yet always eludes her when she tries to catch him. She thinks she hears a voice telling her to come home. Um, and then suddenly, while house sitting for her cold, critical mother, she finds papers that have been previously locked away, records of an investment account worth nearly $4 million, an account that is in her name. Okay, I don't know what that feels like. A fortune with her that her long lost father has been wiring her for years, hidden from her by her mother. It's a discovery that would turn anyone's life upside down, but it will change her life in unimaginable ways because after she takes her rightful ownership of the money and flies to Ireland in hopes of finding her father, she will follow a dog into the forest in Galway and enter a place where fairies and elves and mermaids dwell, where a man named Keegan will train her to fight, where she will embrace power she never knew she had, and where a newfound courage will lead her toward her destiny. So, dun dun dun. Sounds great. Sounds really good, actually. So I will be doing this series, like I said, probably a little later in the month once this is going to get closer to being released, as well as giving my mother-in-law time to finish it, which, knowing her reading speed, will probably be like a few hours. So that will be binging an entirely new series. In addition to this, I do have the sequel to the Shadow and Ember series by Jennifer L. Almond-Chat. I believe that comes out on November 15th. So that will be getting added to probably the pre-order prompt that I have because it is a pre-order that I did. And I've been really anticipating it because, like I said, I'm starting to become an Armentrout junkie at this point. But yeah, so those will be my prompts. Let me know what you guys are reading in November. If you guys are taking part in the Final Book Support Group, or if you guys are taking part in Knock It Out November. If you guys are just mood reading to try to get through your shelves. I know there's a lot of people that are trying to do that. And just as we're starting to get into the colder months, if it does get colder by you, what are you guys gonna do? What do you guys do to get comfy, cozy? I know for us, we have Thanksgiving in November, so I will be looking forward to that. It will be a hectic day because I will probably be cooking the meal again, which I love to do, so I'm not gonna complain about it. I usually put on the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade and watch it as I, prep the turkey and everything. Let me know what you guys are doing, and if you guys have some books that you have read recently that you thought were great, you thought I might like, let me know in the comments. Send me a message, give me a shout out. I am all ears. I love hearing what you guys are doing. I love hearing the book recommendations you have. I really love it. I love you guys communicating and just sharing with me, and I get to share with you. And I get it when people say that going on BookTube, you get to make these wonderful friendships, all around the world. And it is one of the best things that I've been doing on this journey. So we'll see how I do in November, how many of these big opus, whatever chunky books I get through. I will probably break them up or try to break them up into smaller videos like I tried to do for October. But try to do that and have fun with it. And I will look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye.